Well, hello and welcome to the new Book of Daniel podcast. My name is Daniel Bobinski, and let me say this. You're watching the very last episode of the new Book of Daniel podcast. No, I'm not going away. I'm simply changing the name of the show. So now, starting tomorrow, September 2nd, you are going to hear me say hello and welcome to the voice of conservative values. Let me give you a little bit of the backstory here. I'm going to go way back, about 2 years now. About 2 years ago, I started writing for Tracy Beanz at Uncover DC. She had just started the website a couple of months prior. And now when you go there, will pop a little pop-up that says subscribe. Well, when I went there, it said, hey, we're looking for writers. And I've been a political junkie for decades. And I've been writing on business issues for business papers and business magazines. And I still write a couple of business columns for some nationwide magazines. But I saw a little pop-up that says, are you a writer? We're looking for writers. So I sent in my information. Tracy Beanz contacted me. Next thing you know, I'm writing for uncoverdc.com and loved it. I've been doing weekly columns there. And I did that for a year and a half, and so then really took off with one of my columns. I did a column on masks, and back in July of 2020, and that got a lot of attention. I think to this day, it's still the most read column on Uncover DC. I'm totally honored by that. But I had some legislators here in Idaho tell me that I should start a news website for Idaho. And I didn't think much about it for a while, but then I started seeing things in the news. And I saw, I would go to an event at the state capitol, and then I would read about it in the paper. And what I read in the paper was nothing like what I saw when I was there. Or if I saw an article or I saw a TV news clip about what happened, I'm like, yeah, that's not what happened. And I realized there's a dearth of truth here. We needed a lot more truth on the Idaho news scene. So I started trueidahonews.com, which has taken off, actually. And I'm very blessed and honored by that. Our readership has just taken off like crazy. People are contributing and they're donating, and it's awesome because they're really, hungry for truth. And I don't print false stuff. I don't print the standard tripe that you get in the local rags. I'm printing truth. People want that. Well, so I've been doing those two things. And I should say that article I wrote on masks also caught the attention of Ambassador Alan Keyes. He's been doing his own show on Brighteon.live, and he had me on as a guest for that article. Alan and I kind of clicked, and he had me on as a regular guest, which was an honor, a great honor to sit and talk with Alan Keyes every week. Well, then he came out to Boise to do a speaking engagement, and him and I had breakfast, and we kind of connected some more. And the next thing I know, I'm getting a phone call from his producer saying, hey, Alan's been doing 4 hours a day, and he'd like to kind of scale it back a little bit. And to some of his regular guests, he'd like to offer their own hour if they want a guest host. Are you interested? Of course, I said yes. And so I've been hosting my own hour on Alan Keyes' show, Let's Talk America, ever since January of this year, 2021. And that's been a great honor. And I've been able to have some cool guests on there and kind of getting my feet wet and broadcasting on live internet. Well, also doing the new Book of Daniel podcasts and about once a week on all of these things. Getting used to being in front of a camera. Have to tell you, when I first started off and Tracy Beanz asked me, would you like to do media? And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, radio and TV. And at first I'm like, no, no, I don't feel comfortable in front of a camera. No. But after being on with Alan Keyes and doing the podcast every day, every week, I was with the new Book of Daniel. I finally weaned myself into being fairly comfortable in front of a camera. And then with the live TV, guest hosting for Alan Keyes, that's kind of a, deep end of the pool learn how to do this thing. So a couple months back, I get a phone call from a group called Conservatives Of. Conservatives Of is a super PAC. They noticed that I was guest hosting for Alan Keyes. They noticed that I was writing for Uncover DC. They noticed that I was writing and editing for TrueIdahoNews.com. And they said, would you like to host your own radio show here? We'll sponsor the show if you'd like to host a talk show on, what it means, Judeo-Christian principles in the political circles. And I said, absolutely, I would love to. So for the past few months, past 4 or 5 months, I've been hosting the Voice of Conservative Values radio show here in Southwest Idaho, Boise, Treasure Valley area. Then about 2 months ago, there was a notice I was given that Alan Keyes' Brighteon.live was going to be changing. Instead of just 4 hours of live TV every day, Brighteon was going to expand to Brighteon.tv and add 35 new shows. And they said, would you like one? And I submitted my proposal and it got accepted. And so I get a phone call from Bob Denny, who's running that. And he says, name the show whatever you want. And I'm thinking, okay. Well, I was having a conversation with somebody and they said, you got too many brands, Daniel. You got the New Book of Daniel podcast. You got, True Idaho News, and you're guest hosting for Alan Keyes, and you got to cut back a little bit. So the Alan Keyes gig was going to come to an end because of the change at Brighteon. But I realized I just wanted to have 2 brands. I didn't want to get rid of the True Idaho News. I'm having a lot of fun with that. And a lot of people are contributing and donating, and that's awesome. But then I'm doing this radio show, The Voice of Conservative Values. And I thought, hey, we're doing it on the radio. Let's just do it on TV. So starting tomorrow, September 2nd, I will be hosting live every Thursday afternoon, the Voice of Conservative Values on Brighteon.tv. And if you want to tune in, that's going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Pacific. Just go to Brighteon.tv, click the little screen, and it'll start playing. And my first guest is going to be Dr. Judy Mikovits, New York Times bestselling author. Maybe you've seen her. She was the feature interviewee in the movie Plandemic. She's got a lot to say about what's going on. Her book, Plague of Corruption, New York Times bestseller, compelling book. You should get it. But she's going to be my first guest. And then next week is Tracy Beanz. She's going to be my second guest. And she's going to give us a little bit of a background on why she started Uncover DC. And you're going to get to hear some of the behind the scenes stories that a lot of the readers probably miss. But, you probably would find interesting. So we're going to have Tracy on next week. And then later in the month, we're going to have Trevor Loudon on. Lots of interesting guests lined up for the Voice of Conservative Values. So let me just take a moment and have you watch the promo that we put together. This is from Bowermaster Productions here in Southwest Idaho. Let's take a look at what they did for us.
He's a journalist with the most read column on Uncover DC. He's the founder and editor of TrueIdahoNews.com. He's a certified behavioral and motivational analyst with 30 years experience as an executive coach and corporate trainer. He's an international best-selling and award-winning author. He's the host of a weekly radio show, The Voice of Conservative Values. And now we're proud to announce that Daniel Bobinski is bringing The Voice of Conservative Values to Brighteon TV.
This is Daniel Bobinski, host of The Voice of Conservative Values. I am excited to be part of the growth of Brighteon TV, and I invite you to tune in every Thursday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 Pacific, to The Voice of Conservative Values, where we will analyze the news, expose the facts, and give you the truth. Our guests are going to separate fact from fiction, they're going to provide insights you won't get anywhere else, and they're going to deliver incisive analysis of the week's events. Plus, every week, the investigative journalists at Uncover DC will brief us on the latest developments about issues that are vital to the conservative cause. I'm so proud to be part of Brighteon TV. You're going to get the information you need, news that traditional media just won't provide. So join me, Daniel Bobinski, every week on the Voice of Conservative Values right here on Brighteon TV.
Join Daniel as he analyzes the news, provides accurate and timely insights, and reveals the truth from a solid Judeo-Christian conservative worldview. Tune in to the Voice of Conservative Values every Thursday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern and 1 Pacific on the network where you get the truth, uncensored, Brighteon TV.
Much thanks to Brian Bowermaster for putting that together on the promo. And again, I invite you to tune in on Thursday afternoons to the Voice of Conservative Values. So the new book of Daniel is going away as of today. And I'm no longer going to be on YouTube, by the way. I've part of the reason that I've been absent on the podcast scene is because I got a little tired of getting strikes from YouTube for posting truth. When I got a strike just for posting a video about how to get a religious exemption for a COVID jab, that was kind of like the last straw. I'm done playing with YouTube. So you're going to be able to find the Voice of Conservative Values on Rumble and also on Brighteon.com. So it'd be like Brighteon.com/channels/Voice of Conservative Values. So that's how you're going to be able to find me on all social media. Thankfully, on Facebook, I was able to change the New Book of Daniel page to the Voice of Conservative Values. So even if you go there now, it will be branded as Voice of Conservative Values. Same me, just a different brand. And a little more polish. You may notice we have a new microphone. We have a new camera. I got a crisper picture here and better sound quality. They wanted me to amp up my quality for the show on Brighteon, which we did. And I think that's about it. So follow me on Facebook at the Voice of Conservative Values. Follow me on the Voice of Conservative Values TV show every Thursday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 Pacific. And of course, check it out on Rumble and or Brighteon, your choice, and tell your friends about it. Come see what's truth, because we're going to be unabashedly speaking about the truth. Our guests are going to provide all those great insights, because I want you to have the truth. Enough of the smearing and the lies and the smarmy guys on TV trying to smear conservatives. So with that, I thank you very much for tuning in to the New Book of Daniel podcast. And we're going to retire that as of now. And starting tomorrow, it's the Voice of Conservative Values. Until then, next time, this is Daniel Bobinski. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, be blessed.